Welcome in to the Snap, our first mock draft of the 2022 season. We got a good one here for you guys today. Kicking it off, 12-team Superflex mock draft with 2022 rookies unlanded. Should be a good one. Lando, what's going on?
Can't wait, Mac. Welcome to the 2022 season. Really, we're getting ready for the mock drafts. The Snap Boys are here to help you prepare for your season. And there's not a better way to do it than mock drafting with the boys. We have some great guys and gals potentially joining us today, and should be good.
You know who we haven't seen in a while is Claire, but Claire would have been a great addition to this mock draft. But look, we'll get the band back together as the season approaches, but we've got a good list of folks to draft with us, a lot from the Discord. So if you guys want to get first glance at trying to get into one of these mock drafts, you guys have to join the Discord. Really, really good service. We've got myself, Landon, Scott, the producer, and then a variety of members from our Discord free to join. Click that episode description. You can join on in with us.
If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video and comment down below which team drafted the best. Now, this is a 12-team Superflex mock draft. Superflex is the way of the future, Mac. This is where we go. This is how everyone is playing these days. Superflex fantasy football.
Yeah, it just makes things a lot more fun. The fact that if we did tight end premium, it would really round things out. But the fact that the quarterback and the tight end position is left till the later rounds, this really brings some of these positions to the forefront. So yes, I'm with you. I believe it is the future. It is the future of fantasy football. We didn't go tight end premium, but maybe for a next one. But look, we're not going to dilly-dally around. We're going to kick this thing off right away. I do have first pick, so I'm right up on the clock. Just a friendly reminder to those drafting with us: 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, a tight end, a flex, and a super flex. So you can have a wide receiver, a running back, a tight end, or a quarterback in your super flex. And if you're new to the super flex format, it is highly advantageous to get a quarterback in your super flex spot. We also have 5 bench spots. We are going 13 rounds, and we're going to start right now with your boy up on the clock. And I'm going to take who I consider to be the 101 in super flex drafts, in leagues, I should say. Josh Allen is who I'm going with. He's been the quarterback 1 for fantasy the last couple years. I don't think he loses any steam with his mobility, with who they have in this offense, or who they might have, maybe Breece Hall landing. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. I agree. He is the 101. In my opinion, there is a clear top 4, because Jonathan Taylor, I think, can be considered, even in Superflex leagues, a top 4 or 5 pick. Obviously, quarterbacks are the differentiator. If you have 2 elite quarterbacks, your team is off to a great start. But I think Jonathan Taylor is worthy of a top pick. And Mark took him with the 2nd overall pick, and Easy Daddy's on the clock. Now, what are your thoughts on Kyler Murray, Mackenzie? Because he fell to me, and he's got some negative juju around him. It feels like Kyler Murray is just not the guy he once was. I might have to pick him either way. I think I'm probably going to here, but I don't feel good about it.
No, look, I think it's probably between him and Lamar. I think a lot of stuff with the way he's handled himself this offseason kind of makes you as a manager or potential manager not feel super great in that selection. But it is the right pick. I think when you look at Kyler or you look at Lamar, both of them would be the 2 that I would consider, and they're in a tier just above Joe Burrow for me. As we get into this next tier of quarterbacks, the Burrow, the Prescott, I don't know if you want to put Aaron Rodgers in that tier, but it spreads itself out a little bit. But I do think the rushing upside for Kyler and Lamar do put them ahead.
Yeah, I think there is a teardrop after Dak Prescott. Now, so Scott is going to be in a tough position. Producer Scott, if he wants to go positional, he's a Vikings fan, so maybe he would have went Justin Jefferson. If
Wow.
I was Scotty here, I would likely go Dak Prescott, but you never know with producer Scott. First mock draft of the year for him, I guarantee you that.
Really interesting to see Justin Jefferson go this high. I mean, after a big quarterback run, but Dak was there. Seems like Dak might have been the better play. But like Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, all available at the running back position. Only Jonathan Taylor has been selected, and Derrick Henry now. Crazy to see Justin Jefferson go that early, but this is how Superflex mock drafts go. It's usually quarterback heavy, which pushes a lot of talent down the board.
Yeah, Scotty going off the board early with King Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry would have been a league winner this past year if he didn't get hurt. And obviously, producer Scott is expecting the same thing. He could be a difference maker at that position. He's just getting up there in age a little bit. Ziploc taking Dak Prescott. I love that selection. I'm not sure what. Oh, Cat's Pajamas going Jamar Chase. Excellent pick as well.
Now, with the turn pick where Cats does have it, you have a little bit of choice there because you can gamble on what Taylor's going to do here at the turn. But if he likes, 2 to 3 options at quarterback here, could gamble and say, I'm going to get the clear-cut wide receiver that I want as my one, and then gamble that one of those comes back. Whereas if he left Jamar, probably Jamar gets taken.
Yeah, Taylor, it's a really tough spot. You have to go off the board. You need to take your shot. He's going to go with quarterback, so at least he's safe in case there's another quarterback run. And then he takes his favorite running back off the board, which is Austin Eckler, who had a great season this past year. So I think he's in a good position where he's not going to run into trouble here. He went pretty balanced at the turn pick. And, I mean, you're going to have to do the same thing on your turn pick here as well, where if you don't take a quarterback, it might be tough to get one again at the 412.
Right. What do you think about all this news floating around about AJ Brown potentially being a New York Jet? What do you think about that?
I have not heard about that.
Oh man, Twitter has been buzzing. I mean, I know that DK Metcalf has been a topic of conversation in the last couple weeks, and it does make sense given the current state of the Seattle Seahawks. Like, forget making the playoffs. I mean, just to not come last in that division is going to be a feat in itself. But a lot of rumors circulating that AJ Brown might be a New York Jet.
AJ Brown or
AJ Brown?
AJ Brown. No, I have not.
Brown.
I have not heard that. When you said Brown, I just thought you were talking about Antonio Brown.
No.
I wasn't even listening, I guess. But
I think people are fantasizing about the Elijah Moore and AJ Brown duo, bringing the Ole Miss Rebels back together.
Sure.
Super interesting.
I could see there being some draft day buzz and some draft day trades going on, moving a guy like DK Metcalf, maybe AJ Brown, who knows? I think that's where things could get really interesting in the NFL on draft day, getting these guys out of there.
And Easy says DK to Green Bay. I mean, Eric knows as a longtime Green Bay fan, just like myself, full well that there's no chance that the Packers are gonna do that. That's not the recipe for them. That's not how you get to NFC Championship game after NFC Championship game and lose. That's not the recipe, Eric. The recipe is draft poorly and build talent, foster it in-house and, just continue to suck.
Just continue to underachieve based
underwhelm
on their Hall of Fame quarterback. Speaking of the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers going off the board at the 206. Mac, I'm in a tough spot here where I should probably take. Oh yeah, I mean
Tom Brady
just off the board. I could go with Cooper Kupp, which seems like a pretty good play
in the back of the second. Wow.
Yeah. I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. I think that's a
That's a
pretty
good play. I mean, the quarterback talent has lessened itself to where you're not really getting I shouldn't say elite guys, but you're starting to get your twos in the mix here. And you see a lot of teams have doubled up so far or have the potential to double up. And I probably will be one of them at the turn coming back. But you look at the other positional players here, we're talking like top 5 at the position. Christian McCaffrey would have been someone who I probably couldn't steer away from given
yeah.
the running back talent that was out there, but
I had my eye on him as well.
oh, he wasn't coming back
I'm
to you.
I'm surprised that Tua goes ahead of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. It seems like Jalen Hurts is going to be their guy. I really can't see the Eagles with anybody in this draft class for them to pivot off of 15, 16, or 19 to go up and get a quarterback. I say that now it'll happen, but it seems like Jalen Hurts is going to be their guy moving forward. And I mean, his mobility was fantastic. So
Yeah, which is great for fantasy. And
really great.
if they take a wide receiver, I mean, then there's more upside. I know that Tua has some great wide receivers around him. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Now you're on the clock, Mac. What's going through your head? Are you going to go with Jalen Hurts? I know you've never been a big fan of him. And you get a good option at the wide receiver position. Stephon Diggs. You can go Kamara, Chubb. You're always a big fan of.
I could go Jalen Hurts, who I know is going to play all the games, or I could go Deshaun Watson, who has tremendous upside, but we don't know how many games he will play.
Right.
That's the problem. So I'm honestly just going to lock in Jalen Hurts because looking at these other options, I mean, Trey Lance is not the current starter. Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr. I mean, Justin Fields would be the other one I would consider here, but I mean, Jalen Hurts is the safest of the bunch. And now I'm going to look at the other positions here. Now, this isn't a tight end premium, so I'm not going to consider any of the tight end options yet, given that I have Kamara, Chubb, Barkley, Hill, Adams, Diggs, Samuel, AJ Brown. There's too much talent and pedigree at these other positions. I'm really between Kamara and Chubb or Hill and Adams.
I think that's a tough one. I was just responding to Cat's Pajamas in here. He did not like the quarterbacks available, so he went no quarterback and hoping that quarterbacks would fall to him. I said, best of luck. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I know you've always been a Nick Chubb fan. I think he's a very interesting spot.
I am going to go with Stephon Diggs.
All right. And you get
the reason I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs is looking at Adams, looking at Hill. Those are two sexier names than Stephon Diggs. But when players move teams, we tend to see a hair of a regression. Now, I could think that Devontae Adams is going to maintain his target share given his relationship with Derek Carr, yada, yada, yada. But the matter of the fact is when players change teams, it's not always what you think it will be. And Stephon Diggs over Hill and Adams is just the safest. I can also stack him with Allen, which isn't something that you should intentionally try to do, but when you can, it kind of is nice. It works itself out.
Yeah, no, I love that stack. I decided to go Devontae Adams with my third round pick. So I'm just living in the past here with Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams, the top two wide receivers point per game. We'll see how it works out. I mean, this is why we do mock drafts, and this is why you're watching this, to see different strategies on how to kind of create a team and make a jive. And hopefully, I think that there will be a lull in quarterback. I think Deshaun Watson is a very interesting play and makes any team look sexy with the upside, similar to what Trey Lance is to that, where that magical upside that you don't know about on your squad. So I think, but besides that, I think this is an interesting strategy. Go stud quarterback early, then hammer elite wide receiver. I know that Devontae Adams, once he changes teams, who knows what kind of wide receiver is going to be. and we've talked about that at length on the podcast. So check out our podcast about that and Devontae Adams. But either way, I think he's going to be just fine in Las Vegas. And at that position, I'm willing to take the risk in the third round.
Gator fan here says that the Nick Chubb pick made my choice a bit easier. Now, I was also considering taking Deebo Samuel because, like we talked about last year, I was like, look, if Deebo Samuel can go a full season without, missing time for injury, because he had that injury-prone tag, I was like, if he can do it, I have to slide him up in my ranks. Like, I have to honor that kind of year, and he did. And so I was actually considering Deebo Samuel over Diggs, Hill, and Adams. Ultimately, just a little bit too high, but I do like the pick by Gator fan, aka Tebow fan, in the draft.
Right. I guess I didn't really realize that was Gator fan.
Yeah.
Anyways, nice. Love it.
Griff has a question, I guess, from the sleeper chat or the draft chat. Thoughts on Christian McCaffrey at the back of the second, steal or proper place? Really good question.
Yeah, I think we've Mac and I have talked about McCaffrey off air at length, and it's very difficult to properly price him. Obviously, if he's healthy, he's a phenomenal asset and fantasy player. We obviously haven't seen him. It kind of like Saquon Barkley lately, but we saw Barkley at the end of last season, and I don't want to touch him with the 10-foot pole, but I will absolutely do that with Christian McCaffrey. I think he has great upside. I think it's a bit of a steal. I think I would expect him to go before Joe Mixon.
Yeah, so for me, honestly, when I'm looking at Christian McCaffrey, I'm looking at potential. But I do have to assess that there's some risk that comes along with him now, given the last 2 seasons. If it was 1 season, I could let it go, and that's what you saw last year. 2 seasons is a fairly lengthy resume where I'm going to say I honestly might have taken DeAndre Swift over Christian McCaffrey, but you have to draw the line at some point. And like, once you get to the Javonte Williams spot for me, I think that's where I really am saying, look, I'm projecting Javonte Williams to take a step forward. I'm also projecting for Christian McCaffrey to stay healthy. If he's healthy, he's still probably the number 1 or 2 running back, depending on what Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry do. I think it's a bit of a steal, but also proper given the Superflex format. If it was 1 QB, back of the second would be outrageous.
Yes. Scott is going with the 0 quarterback strategy. We'll see how that pans out for him. Maybe he doesn't know the format, but I figure with all the quarterbacks off the board, that would be a pretty good hint.
He's going with the Davis Mills and like Trevor Lawrence stack.
Trevor Lawrence is gone already.
Oh, is he? Oh, he did go.
I'm not sure if what options he'll have. After I take 2 quarterbacks, I'm not going to take any more. I don't think so.
Maybe a third is tough.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we get there. There was one thing that we can talk about with quarterbacks here. Chris Timmons, member of the channel. Hey fellas, you surprised that Deshaun Watson is still on the board? I figured he would go before Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. And you said I am a bit surprised.
I am. I'm kind of holding my breath to see if he'll fall to me. I think he'll likely go off the board. I also love the Breece Hall pick.
Yeah, Breece Hall, not to pivot off, I do want to come back to this question, but Breece Hall, if you're in Dynasty, projects to be a really solid prospect, and we should probably do a lengthier video, but yeah, we're going to leave it at that. I think he's going to be great. No doubt. Alvin Kamara falling this far is a little shocking, but I'm honestly not surprised that Deshaun Watson is still on the board for me, because I did take Jalen Hurts over him. Like I said, I know Jalen Hurts is probably going to play a full season, and I don't know the same for Deshaun Watson. Like, what do you think his suspension is going to be?
Oh, and as of I picked him at the 4-8, and I expect him to be suspended for 0 games. Just kidding. It's hard to say. I I'm expecting a 6-game suspension out of Deshaun Watson, but we're in a mock draft. Who cares about what we think is going to happen? I'm going for the best team, and I think Deshaun Watson makes my team look great right now. But yeah, who knows? That's the tough part. I think this is good value for him. If you're in a real draft, I think this is very fine value because he's a difference maker once you get into that position of the playoffs. As long as you have a decent core, and now that I have him, maybe I will take a Daniel Jones, a Jameis Winston late in the draft. But right now I don't need to worry about quarterback for quite some time.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Cat's Pajamas said, got my quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. The sophomore tandem should be an interesting year for Trevor Lawrence. I am hopeful that things turn around. I mean, the Jaguars did more for Trevor Lawrence to support him than the Packers did for Aaron Rodgers in 15 years. So, I mean, if you look at the backup wide receivers they have, it's a pretty stellar group.
The downfall of DK Metcalf here is significant. He's a guy I'd be interested in trying to trade for right now because perception of him is so low. If I had him, I wouldn't try to move him low. Similar to a Trey Lance and all the rhetoric around Jimmy Garoppolo sticking with the team or what have you. I'm not trading these elite players low. I'm waiting until either maybe DK gets traded to a better team, maybe they trade for Baker Mayfield, what have you. Look what happened to Amari Cooper. He got traded to the Browns, and now he's got Deshaun Watson. So I mean it's pretty nice for a guy like Amari Cooper.
Yep. I looked at the draft board there and just noticed that after Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott, there was a tier break to David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Dobbins, Elijah Mitchell, Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, it really fell off. And looking at the wide receiver position, tight end position, there's still so much talent left on the board. So I decided to ultimately pivot, and I'm happy with the way it worked out. I got a wide receiver 1. I got 2 solid running backs, so I think I'm good.
I need to hit that running back position. I have not drafted one yet, so Montgomery,
David Montgomery's just kind of sitting there. Who
Dobbins, Mitchell.
I was considering him over Saquon, but ultimately, if you're gonna gamble a little bit, you
like Montgomery. I'm fine with Montgomery as well.
I mean, look, he's safer than Dobbins and Etienne, who haven't played. Elijah Mitchell is not safe from the draft. They could grab somebody else to complement. You just never know. Yeah. Gatortan, thoughts on me going Aaron Jones instead of someone like Kamara or Gibson? I like Kamara, but a bit skittish because of his off-season issues. Yeah, he is pending litigation, I believe, for what happened in Las Vegas.
Yes, at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so who knows what actually happens with Alvin Kamara. I don't mind Aaron Jones whatsoever. I think right now, when you look to the Packers, like they are going to be very run heavy. The only problem is A.J. Dillon actually out-touched Aaron Jones on the ground. If we're playing in any sort of half or full PPR, which I think this is full PPR, Aaron Jones is still going to get the majority of the work in the passing game, but we might see Aaron Jones like line up in the slot, depending on how the draft goes or who they try to acquire. I don't know.
They might need him there.
I don't mind the pick. I personally probably would have went Kamara or Gibson over the Jones, but that's all personal preference.
What are your thoughts on Cam Akers? Have you cooled off on him? What do you think his upside is? What do you think his usage will be for the Rams this year? He really had a poor postseason and Super Bowl. He didn't look great.
I'm giving him a pass.
Yeah,
but I'm not as high as I was on him, and it saddens me a little bit. But I look at this backfield and I go, Darrell Henderson was pretty solid on his own terms when he was the lead man. Sony Michel ate into Cam Akers' upside. There's no question about it. So I don't know that this team is willing to just go Lone Ranger in that backfield. I do think it's going to be a committee approach, and I think that ultimately just lessens the ceiling for a guy like Cam Akers. So I'm uh I'm not as bullish as I once was on him at all.
I'm glad the Cat's Pajamas finally took DK Metcalf. I think this is the time. That's where you take advantage of the
Yeah.
bad perception. You have to take a guy like that. I mean, I'm surprised that. I mean, man, oh man, what do you think? Like Keenan Allen, Metcalf, T. Higgins. Do you rank them as they were drafted, or what are your thoughts for
Um
just regular seasonal, no, not including dynasty football?
well, okay, so T Higgins and Keenan Allen both play in high-powered offenses.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. DK Metcalf is a fantastic talent, but if he's getting a ton of work from Drew Lock, who's ultimately, going to be the starter week 1 if that's the way it works out, that would be I mean, there's going to be better options on the board in my opinion. Like I think I would rather take Amari Cooper, who will have a much
Mm,
higher target share with a guy like Deshaun Watson,
yeah.
who's going to be more productive. But at a certain point, you got to draw the line in the sand.
Some interesting draft board. Man, the wide receivers are ranked in a very interesting way right now, how they're being drafted.
And honestly,
Um,
this is a good exercise just for us to look at ADP. And because I
mhm,
haven't done any mock drafts just on my own accord, I
me
want to see
neither.
where some of these rookies are falling pre-draft.
Yeah.
I want to be able to look back and say, guys are rising, guys are falling. I kind of want that data, and I think the community would benefit from that data as well.
Yeah. Now Terry McLaurin has a new quarterback. I mean, DJ Moore, these guys go up and down in value.
Mhm.
And I mean, Chris Godwin is still hanging out there. And he was a guy that caught my eye. That it's interesting why a guy like Jalen Waddle is getting drafted ahead of Chris Godwin.
I think it's just like the ACL injury that people are a little bit afraid of, but we've seen tons of guys come back from injuries like that. I mean, look at Odell Beckham Jr. coming back from a second major injury, now a third. He still had productivity at the end of the year, and a guy like Chris Godwin, only being 25, plays a pretty solid slot role, has been a top 5 wide receiver the last couple years. I mean, what's not to like about Chris Godwin? As I
As he goes off the
sing
board.
his praises on his way to Gentry's team. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think people are deservedly down on Chris Godwin for no reason. And I still think he maintains a ton of value. He's still a top 10 dynasty startup wide receiver for me.
Yeah, you've always sang his praises, and
Mhm.
I think he's a really good wide receiver. And yes, there's this upside of Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins type
Yep.
player, but Chris Godwin just goes to work, does it. People are almost getting tired of how good he is.
Yeah.
Kind of like Alvin Kamara and Daniel Jones and these guys that just are good year after year after year, but people want the perceived upside more than they want the safety, and that's not really how to build a team. And
Right.
speaking of perceived upside, J.K. Dobbins falls under that category, and I needed a running back, so I'm
Makes
willing to
sense.
take the upside of Dobbins rather than a safety of Damian Harris or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where I know what I have, um, or Leonard Fournette for that
Schwartzy.
example.
I
You
was
were going
eyeing up I was eyeing up Leonard Fournette there.
playoff Lenny. What are your thoughts? Okay, next question I have for you as well. And this is a fun exercise because I really haven't talked to you about redraft, ADP,
Yeah.
values, how you value these players. Darren Waller is on a tier of his own, but would you rather just pass on him and go for a Goddard, Hawkinson, Schultz type player after, or do you want a Darren Waller type, a quote unquote positional advantage?
Yeah, I think with the way that the offseason shaked itself out and Devontae Adams landing with the Raiders, Darren Waller won't command that workload that he once did. I'm not saying he can't have fantastic games. I think he's now been removed from tight end 1 consideration because I just don't think enough volume's going to be there. And for him to be the tight end one, he probably just has to have a ridiculously high touchdown conversion percent. Like he just needs a high touchdown rate. So, oh geez, okay. So I'm gonna go triple down on running back. I'm gonna grab Travis Etienne because you do the math there. I don't think James Robinson's ready to go to start the year, given the torn Achilles, and his time was ticking as well. So Travis Etienne was the lone running back left. I was eyeing up Dobbins and Fournette, and Etienne was the last of my considerations, so I went there. And then I look at the wide receiver position, tempting to just take a flyer on Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson, but I'm not about to go there yet with DJ Moore on the board, someone I really, really like. So DJ Moore, I'm going to go with for my wide receiver too.
Yeah, and this is still an early draft where you got to take your guys, and if you just really like players, you got to maybe reach for them. But where I'm learning, I've talked to Mac, is letting the draft fall to you is sometimes a really good strategy, and getting a DJ Moore type, let him fall back to you, and then you can get the guy you were going to take in the Easy Daddy, a great friend, listener, companion, whatever it is. Like, he drafted Elijah Moore, but he probably could have waited to take Elijah Moore in the 7th round. So he could have taken a Sutton Etienne and then or DJ Moore and waited on Elijah, just because he believes in the upside of Elijah, and sure, I do too. He had some really great games, and I think he's a star in the NFL. I just think you could probably have gotten value on him and taken him in the 7th round instead.
Maybe. And we were having a really interesting chat today about value and, how we perceive the value of players, but it never really pans out that way. There's a small percentage of our projections that actually come to fruition. A lot of it doesn't actually play out the way that we think, for injury, for players stepping up, stepping down, getting traded, whatever. Like, a lot can change. And yeah, I mean, if you believe in Elijah Moore, cool. If AJ Brown, let's just say, lands with the New York Jets, you're not going to be as bullish on Elijah Moore as you once were. That's just clear and simple as day.
Back-to-back sophomore players.
Let's get a bigger look at the board here. I'm going to pan to big screen. So far in this draft through 7 rounds, I know you're up right now, Lando. Give me we can't pick ourselves here. You can't pick me. I can't pick you. Who's your front runner for leading this draft? Whose team do you like the most?
Man, I don't know who I'm going to pick. I don't know who I'm going to pick right now. Oh man, I'm tilting right now. Do I go running back? Do I triple? These wide receivers are terrible. Man, I'm going
tilt.
I'm going Damian Harris, I guess. Jeez, jeez.
I hate that. All right, I'm going to look here and just say the first thing I'm going to look at, obviously, is quarterback strength. And Schwartz has, a great tandem, but that's if Trey Lance plays. If Trey Lance does not play or sits behind another, that's a little bit, it's a little bit concerning. I'm just looking at other. So Wilson Fields is not bad. Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, that's a nice duo at wide receiver. Kyle Pitts, the tight end 1 for Dynasty, and Breece Hall. Gentry's team is nice. There's a little bit of risk there, but I also like the upside. And then honestly the best quarterback tandem is Burrow and Rodgers.
That's what stands out to me too. That team stands out to me as the best.
Same with Lamar and Tom, though.
Yeah, Lamar and Tom is good as well, and he's got a difference maker with Mark Andrews at the tight end position. I think that's a solid team. Yeah, back to back.
I think I'm between AJ and Josh there.
Yeah, I think I'm in between those two as well. Both are really good, and he's got the stack. Tebow fan has the stack of Burrow and T Higgins. I think Elijah Mitchell was a really good value where he fell as well. I was looking at Lockett. I just couldn't pull the trigger on Tyler Lockett. But yeah, both teams are really good. I guess we'll see who Tebow fan picks at a tight end. But typically, I just like late tight end strategy. But AJ Berg, I mean, he got really good value on Mark Andrews as well, especially where Travis Kelce went in the back of the third round.
Yeah. Now we've only had Breece Hall go. There's no other rookie that has fallen yet for the 2022 class. At what point do you just take upside pick on Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave over somebody like, we look at the rest of the wide receivers that are available: Brandon Ayuk, Marquise Brown, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson, who just changed teams, Chase Claypool, who has hopefully an increased role, Jerry Jeudy, who's got a better quarterback. Where do you draw the line? Who are you willing to take a shot on?
Yeah, I mean, when I was tilting, I considered a rookie there, but I prefer just to build around, especially in the early picks, the veteran guys, the guys that
Sure.
are going to score fantasy points for you. The line for me is probably, oh man, after like a Michael Carter, I would consider rookies.
A
Like
Kenneth Walker.
then I don't think I would pick Michael Carter and Miles Sanders ahead of Kenneth Walker in my opinion right now. But as far as wide receivers go, I mean, Treylon Burks is great. He's getting overdrafted right now since Garrett Wilson and Drake London are going after him. Like ADP of 86 for Drake London is late. Is very late.
I agree. I think when I look at the ADP right now for Kenneth Walker and Isaiah Spiller, I think they are higher than they probably should be.
That's what I was just going to say. Treylon Burks being a ADP 62 is way too high for him right now. Now, if he lands with Aaron Rodgers, maybe that changes, but at the same time, that still gives me pause because of the history of Rodgers and rookie quarterbacks, and it just gives me wide receivers. I'm hesitant towards that. Towards these rookie wide receivers this year. Although people will get excited, the group as a whole isn't great. I just don't know if they're going to have a big splash like we saw with the year after a Jamar Chase happens. Seems like people reach a little too much for rookies.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we've been spoiled the last 2 years with Justin Jefferson being a top 10 fantasy wide receiver, and then Jamar Chase also following suit. But I think I heard on the Footballers podcast that only 6 wide receivers in the last decade as rookies have gone on to be top 10 fantasy wide receivers in their rookie year. Like, this is something that just does not happen. It actually might have been back to 2000. I can't remember the range, but it was a lot. It was like, wow. I think when you look at Spiller and Walker, for me, where are they going to go that they get a workload that outpaces AJ Dillon or Michael Carter or Miles Sanders? Where could they possibly go where they get more work?
Now, unless the Jets take them in the second round, which would be terrible for Michael Carter.
It would, but it wouldn't be great for Walker or Spiller either.
No, they'll just cannibalize themselves.
Right.
Yeah, there aren't many teams that are in need of a running back right now.
No.
Not at all. Like, it would be terrible if New England drafted one. It'd be terrible if Baltimore drafted one, if Tampa Bay, Arizona even. Like, there aren't very many teams. I've heard rumblings that New Orleans is going to take a running back, but again, that's that's awful.
Yeah.
That's not great.
I'm going to flip this one to you, Lando. Question from Josh, 2-parter. What are your thoughts on Lockett this season? And 2, what range would you rank James Conner with Chase Edmonds moving on? Start with Lockett.
I think Lockett is going to be. He's a value. He's going to be a value. He's such a safe wide receiver. I think it's going to be.
Even with Drew Lock.
Even with Drew Lock, he'll be fine, but he'll be remember Brandon Cooks this year? That's what I feel like Tyler Lockett's going to be. Like, we discounted. I hated Brandon Cooks. I didn't want him on any team, but he performed at a pretty good rate. And I think that's kind of what Lockett's going to be. He'll be fine, but he's not a guy that I'm going to want to be trading for. I'm not going to feel comfortable with it. Once you draft him, I doubt you'll be able to trade him because everyone's tired of him and they don't want Tyler Lockett on his team. That's on their team. That's right. Why he's a 7th or 8th round pick. That's what he'll be in the regular season, I believe.
Right. I'll answer that question. It's on me right now, so I'm just considering my options. Burks, Wilson, London, all at the top of the board. I don't like those 3 over Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy for me is probably the guy I would lock in first, just given that he gets a massive quarterback upgrade in Russell Wilson. So I'm really interested to see what happens there. Kareem Hunt's about as solid as you can get as a running back 2. Chris Carson, we have no idea what's going on with him, if he'll be ready. And then, Devon Singletary. I mean, if the Buffalo Bills draft Breece Hall, that's a wasted pick. I don't believe in the Tony Pollard hype. Ronald Jones is the only other one, but that is a complete reach. So I think, honestly, I'm just kind of talking myself into going with Kareem Hunt here. Nobody at the tight end position that stands out that I really like. Nobody at the quarterback position. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with my man Kareem Hunt here.
Chase Claypool, Mike Williams, Darnell Mooney, Adam Thielen. These guys have fallen a little bit. What are your thoughts on those?
I will answer that. I just want to go back to Gator's question here. I view Tyler Lockett as, I guess, a back end wide receiver too. I think the most upside that comes for him is if he gets traded. Honestly, I don't have a lot of faith for him. He's been a guy that's done it on big plays, who's gotten to the end zone a lot, and I just don't see that happening with Drew Lock if he's going to be the guy that remains the starter. Now, Baker Mayfield signs with them. I'll be a little bit more confident to say that he will retain some of his productivity, but I'm not overly bullish on him. And then James Conner. I think James Conner, honestly, when you look at his touchdown total, I'm probably not projecting him to do anything more than he did last year. Yeah, his volume might go up, but I can't see his touchdown rate increasing.
Oh, no chance.
There'll be a severe regression for him. So I kind of put him in the same camp as Leonard Fournette. I think he's probably in that range for me. So yeah, I think he's appropriately placed, to be honest with you, in this draft.
All right, I'm gonna go rookie here, and I will go with Garrett Wilson. I think I'm leaning that Garrett Wilson is my top wide receiver prospect right now. I liked what I saw on tape. I think he'll be the first receiver off the board as well, based on how fast he ran. The NFL just loves speed. So, this is my first mock draft of the season, so I might as well take. I'm usually a big rookie fan anyway, so I'll take the Garrett Wilson.
Look, I mean, at a certain point, you're going to have to say, what is the potential upside for these top tier wide receivers coming in who project to be day one picks? I definitely think that London is going to be a guy that gets a lot of attention, who's going to climb up draft boards. And I think we're starting to see them shake out. I'd be shocked to see if any of those guys make it back to me. I think this is the spot where we start to see people take chances and go for the upside plays if these guys materialize.
Yeah, I think so. And it's the difference. Like AJ Berg, I think that's a great pick with Adam Thielen. That's an excellent pick. Despite him getting hurt at the end of the year, I think Adam Thielen's going to be just fine. Same with Robert Woods. And you got to figure that's just the risk level you have to take based on the team you've drafted. Are you safe enough to take a Garrett Wilson, or did you take some upside so you want some safety with Thielen, Woods that you could just plug into your lineup and not have to worry about at your wide receiver 3 position right now? Like these guys are your third or fourth wide receiver, and those are great safe plays because injuries always happen. They're bound to happen. And if you have Thielen, Woods on your bench that you could just plug in there on a bye week or an injury, you're loving life. Where like myself or Gentry, we're gonna have to wait. We're sitting Wilson and London before they can prove to us that they can start on the team. We do not want to start them until we have to.
For sure.
Also,
yeah, sorry,
also,
I was just...
yeah.
I was just saying I was getting caught up in the sleeper chat here. I hadn't been in it.
Yeah, I do like Scotty's pick with Kenny Pickett. He kind of made up for his 0 quarterback strategy going with Tannehill and Pickett. Neither quarterback are going to be sexy, but I think he's got a really good team shaping up now based on a different draft strategy than what we did.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you're going to have to do. I mean, Tannehill was a nice little pop in there for him. Someone is safe. Kenny Pickett, I do think, is going to land with a team, and he is going to get a starting role at some point. Now, I've seen teams, and you have too, do very well in Superflex leagues where they just have a stud QB and they just pick up value at every other position. What they lose at the quarterback position in their Superflex, they gain everywhere else because that early capital was not invested in the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they go rounds 1, 2, 3 without a quarterback, and then they scoop one when it starts to cool off. And we look at the 4th round. Let's say Deshaun Watson fell to that type of team, and he doesn't get a suspension this year. Well, now you're in a position where you can really get an advantage on your league. So it's not to say you can't make it work. You just have to get a little lucky is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Treylon Burks off the board.
Yeah, you called it. The rookie's starting to go off the board. I mean, maybe I started it with Garrett Wilson, but either way, I think this is the right time, the appropriate time to take a flyer on these wide receivers. And I think maybe the running backs, I mean, I guess they're both gone. There's not really a good 4th rookie like Kyron Williams.
No.
Yeah. So for all intents purposes, we're done with drafting rookie running backs.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that they like Rachaad White. They like Zamir White. They're interested in James Cook, whatever. I mean, take your shot at your guy in the later rounds. That's kind of what they're there for. These are guys that you're going for upside. You've already got the foundation of your team. You're looking for, if these guys pan out, you're going to win your league. That's what you're looking for in this range. So, yeah, I mean, shoot your shot. For sure.
Absolutely. Isaiah Spiller, what are your thoughts on him? Do you think he's going to get a role in the NFL this year?
Yeah, I just don't view him as the same, even close. Like for me, it's Breece Hall, tier break, Kenneth Walker, tier break, and then Isaiah Spiller is in that 3rd tier. I truly don't know if he's going to command a starting workload. It's going to be tough. I think Walker is like so elusive and offers so much, and Breece Hall is just so athletic and talented. He has good vision. He's got good pace. Like if he was in that 2020 draft class, 2021 draft class with Jonathan Taylor and company, like 2020. Am I confusing the years? Yeah, 2020 class. If he was in that class, like he might have gone just behind Jonathan Taylor. Like if he was in last year's draft, he might have gone ahead of Najee Harris. Like that's how good this guy is.
Wow. You're talking Breece Hall?
Breece Hall, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Kenneth Walker's solid, but I put him more into that like Antonio Gibson tier than I do those upper echelon guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Breece Hall is a really, really good prospect. I'm very, very excited for him this year. And I do hope he lands in Buffalo, but there's no guarantee. So I took Devon Singletary. So I have right now a starter. Who knows? He showed out in the end of last season, and I think he's earned a role on his team. Whether or not he gets that throughout the full season or not, that's still to be determined. But I mean, a pretty good value at the back of the 10th round.
Yeah, heck yeah. I have got to consider tight end at some point. Noah Fant has switched teams. He's staying with Drew Lock, which I'm sure he's not thrilled about. I've got to just make a decision. Freiermuth loses a little bit of steam with Mitch Trubisky there. Honestly, like Gesicki could have less volume than previous years, but things could improve for him there, given that he's got Tyreek Hill in.
Yeah, if it was me, I like Freiermuth. I don't mind Zach Ertz.
I was just thinking Zach Ertz. I mean, he's super safe. DJ Chark in Detroit. I don't want anything to do with that.
No, DJ Chark is dead to me.
All right, I'm gonna have some fun here. I'm gonna go with Chris Olave.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take Zach Ertz, even though he probably would have been available around from now. I'm going to just secure him. And I think I'm so far ahead in this draft, I can just leave some for the rest of y'all. I'm kidding.
Gator fan wants us to give his opinion on Cordell Patterson, his fourth running back off the board, versus a Singletary, James Robinson type player. Now, I drafted Singletary a couple picks later. I don't think I would have been looking at Patterson at all. I got burned by him for not drafting him last year and he being a real deal. But what are your thoughts on Patterson going for Atlanta and really being the only option in Atlanta right now besides Kyle Pitts?
Yeah. Like when we look at these players here, we're talking about upside. So Cordero Patterson, Devon Singletary, Ramondre Stevenson, Ronald Jones, who has the most upside? And Singletary is not safe from the draft the same way that Cordero Patterson is not safe from the draft. But Cordero does have a range of outcomes where he can still succeed from a fantasy perspective as a wide receiver. And we saw him kind of do that Swiss Army knife roll the entire year last year. So Patterson is a little bit more draft proof than Singletary. If Breece Hall lands with the Bills, goodbye Devon Singletary. It's going to be nighty night. So I think I would order them Patterson, Rojo, Singletary, Stevenson in terms of upside. So I think you did make the right choice. It would have been between Patterson and Jones for me over Singletary and Stevenson. But I mean, if the draft shakes itself out differently and Breece Hall's not a Buffalo Bill, Devon Singletary looks like a great pick. So it's just risk and upside. So, I mean, I think you made a good choice, but it might be completely different given a month.
Did you... Will Fuller is now named William Fuller. Have you seen that?
No. He's like taking so much time off from football that he's no longer cool. So he has to go back to William.
He needs a rebrand.
He should just double down and be Bill.
Maybe next year, if once William fails him, he'll go to Bill Fuller.
Will Fuller in his 30s yet? Because I feel like once he passes the 30-year-old, he should just be Bill Fuller.
Is he a father? Because I feel like, it's either one or the other. It's 30 years. So he's 27.
Oh.
So Not 30 yet, but he might be a dad. So I think once you're a dad, you could be a Bill as
If
well.
Will Fuller is still an NFL employee by the time he's 30, I am starting a petition for him to be Bill Fuller.
Could he be Billy? Or is that's too kid-like?
If he has a season where he can stay on the field, we'll upgrade him to Billy. But he's Bill Fuller.
All right.
William, that's weak.
I know. I was tilting in silence a little bit. I went with Melvin Gordon. I think that's just taking value, which if he stays in Denver, which nobody wants, for any Javonte Williams owners, I think Melvin Gordon will have a role if he stays in Denver, which is terrible for him. But I think they split the workload 50-50 this past year. With Denver wanting to go for it this year, I mean, they're probably going to want Melvin Gordon back. They don't want to have to rely everything on Javonte Williams. And we know that Melvin is a competent running back. Just as much as you want to hate it, and I wanted to hate it last year, I think Melvin might stay with Denver.
Look, like they're going to roll forward with either Javonte or the duo. If they don't, Javante's great. If they do, there's still there's room for them to both be fantasy relevant. But no matter what, Melvin Gordon, I believe, is going to have a role in the league. It just depends on where he goes. But if he returns to Denver, they eat into each other a little bit, but there's still a potential for them to be both top 25, top 24 running backs.
If Melvin leaves, Javonte is being drafted where
way too high. Way too high.
Well, Javonte is so annoying. If Melvin leaves, Javonte will be drafted even higher.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he will be drafted way too high. He'll be drafted
way too high.
Right beside Najee Harris.
Right. Way too high.
Yeah.
No, in a dynasty startup, that's a totally different story. I think he would then warrant that position. But that time's coming regardless. Anyways, you can't see Melvin Gordon being a staple of this team for years to come. It's at most a one more year type deal. But do you really need Melvin Gordon given what Russell Wilson provides you? I mean, probably not.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Russell's great, but he's I don't know. I'm not sure.
Let's get one more bigger look at the draft board here. For those of you that are with us on YouTube, go ahead and let us know in the comments what team you would be voting for as the top team. Landon and I have both casted our early votes for AJ Berg or Tebow Fan 15. We'll revisit those teams and see if those still hold true as our number ones, but let us know who would your number one team be if you had to game one in a league.
It's close. It's a tight race between AJ Berg and Tebow Fan for me. They've stayed neck and neck. Tebow Fan really went. He punted the tight end position, but got Gronk late, which is pretty nice, assuming that Gronk returns to Tampa Bay. I would want. If I take Gronk, I would want a double tap tight end here. So if I was him, I might look at a Tyler Higbee, Hunter Henry type play here. In mock drafts, I don't normally take a backup. So for people taking 3 quarterbacks in this draft, oh, there we go. Doug Kmet. So he's listening to me right now, or he did exactly what I would have done.
I like Cole Kmet. I think there's a potential for him to take a massive step forward this year. He kind of got hot at the end of last year, and you never know.
I like Kmet as well. I agree.
We got a request to give it some draft grades at the end. We could potentially make that work.
Sure.
Gator fan says, what's your gut feeling on what happens with the running back situation in Miami? Feels like they have 3 to 4 guys going for that starting job. I don't necessarily know that there's a starting job available.
That's what I was going to say.
However, I'm going to remove Myles Gaskin from having any chance at getting a significant portion of the workload.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a starting job. I think it will be running back by committee at all times. If I want one person, it's going to be Chase Edmonds. But it's either way, I think it's going to be all kinds of work. We'll get Jalen Waddle taking jet sweeps, Tyreek Hill in the backfield. Like it's going to be just about everyone getting
Yep.
snaps.
I'm just making my last couple picks here. Tyler Boyd has fallen probably way too far, but I don't want to take him.
I mean, if someone gets hurt at that wide receiver position, knock on wood, I mean, you gotta
Kenny
like
Golladay had
that.
far too poor of a season for me to want to take any. I mean,
Oh,
DJ Chark seems like a lot of fun in Detroit,
Kenny G is a last round draft pick right now.
right?
Oh my lord! In a startup draft
All right, I'll
a
take Kenny
year
Golladay.
ago or
Feels
2
kind of
years
crazy.
ago,
Feels crazy
was
for him to be
he
there.
was going as a top 6 dynasty wide receiver 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Man, oh man, that is crazy.
wild.
Oh I can't believe that. That's hard. That's and
Again,
I'll
let
go
us know
Tyler Boyd.
in
I
the
made
chat who your pick would be for the winner of this mock draft. We would love to know. We'll go through and give like our quick breakdowns of a team and a draft grade. Yeah, we'll see what we can do here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if someone's really picking at quarterbacks, which everyone has 2 or 3 right now, I think Jimmy Garoppolo could be a good pick. I mean, Baker Mayfield as well.
I considered him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
both
consider
guys.
Jimmy G. But if anything happens there, I mean, Jared Goff is just a safer guy at this point than Jimmy Garoppolo is.
Yeah. And that's why the zero quarterback strategy is kind of valid because people just stop taking quarterbacks, period. So there are starters like Jared Goff, for example, available at the second last round, which doesn't normally happen in Superflex. So Daniel Jones, heck, Davis Mills available in the last round. That's great value
Right.
for a starting quarterback where it stands now. So you could punt the quarterback position, still be okay. You're not going to love it, but you'll be okay.
Okay, I'm going to talk about right now, looking at this draft board. Man, all right. Well, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Mark Andrews, McLaurin. MT is a complete question mark. Miles Sanders. I really like AJ Berg's team. Put that one together really nicely. I'm just going to zoom in here so you guys can see. And then Tebow fan, Burrow Rogers. It's a really solid stack too. Samuel, Jones, Higgins, Mitchell, Lockett, Carter, Woods. Honestly, I think my pick here is going to be AJ Berg. I think he's got just a little bit of an advantage here, given that the tight ends, I would rather have Mark Andrews over the 2 tight ends of Gronk and Kmet. I would rather have the running back trio of Chubb, Kamara, and Sanders over Jones, Mitchell, and Carter. The wide receivers are weaker for AJ's team, but if Michael Thomas does find his way back to the field, this team could be really solid with a nice floor of McLaurin, Thomas, Thielen. So I am going to take AJ Berg's team as my favorite team here.
Nice. I still really like Tebow fan. I think that's a really good squad. Something I would have loved to put together if I was as sharp as Tebow fan. Maybe I'd be able to put a team like that together. But I do, you know what? I do like Scott's team. Pretty sure Scott, I think after reaching for Derrick Henry, I think he made up for it considerably. Getting Tannehill and Pickett with Jameis, who projects to be the starter in New England. Some good value at wide receiver. I mean, Mike Evans is never a sexy pick, but he's going to put up 1,000 yards with his eyes closed. And getting the flyer of Isaiah Spiller. And obviously positional advantage with Travis Kelce. I
With
think
Travis
he
Kelce, yeah.
put a pretty good squad together.
It definitely came back with the Winston pick at the end.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the Spiller pick. I would have preferred a Ronald Jones or a Cordero Patterson, but hey, I mean, Spiller, that could be a complete 180.
Yeah. So Cat's Pajamas chimes in and says he likes Tebow's team and Easy Daddy's team. So let's take a look at that, and we'll start with whichever one you want, and then I'll go to the next guy.
Sure, I'll just go with Mark Chu's team here. Went heavy with JT, DeAndre Swift, the two quarterbacks, I guess three, Cousins, Ryan, Trubisky. Nothing there that's going to make you excited, but will be enough to get you some to get you some points on the board at the quarterback position. Deontay, Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman, Allen Robinson. We're looking for a lot of question marks or a lot of answers to questions. You know, what will Michael Pittman look like with Matt Ryan? What will Cortland Sutton look like with Russell Wilson, Deontay Johnson with Mitch Trubisky, Allen Robinson with Matt Stafford? All of your wide receivers have got different quarterbacks, and Jameson Williams coming in is a complete rookie. Also, didn't love the Albert O pick, waiting all the way to the end. Maybe would have considered this position earlier, potentially at the Chase Edmonds point when you could have, maybe got Dallas Goedert instead, or
Right.
Mike Gesicki or Pat Freiermuth. I think that's probably the one error that you made. But Mark's team is risk reward, to be completely honest. I would give this team probably just a solid B. I think you're going to have enough safety and enough upside if it all hits, but I think you could be weak at the tight end position. That's my only reservation.
Yeah, a solid B. I think you could have gotten a B plus if you would have maybe double tapped tight end late in the draft, kind of like how Tebow fan did. Mm-hmm. So I'll go to Schwartz here. I mean, starts Patrick Mahomes at the 103, looks great. McCaffrey again. These guys were not. They were the 101s at their respective positions not so long ago. Trey Lance, I think you've got some upside there. And late in the draft, you also got Daniel Jones, which gives you that safety if Trey Lance does manage to sit some games, which I hope he doesn't, but you still never know with Trey Lance. Your running back core overall is pretty solid with Antonio Gibson, Leonard Fournette. James Robinson, I think that might have been a bit of a wasted pick. I would have kind of maybe preferred just a Alexander Madison type player, Kenneth Gainwell type player, Darrell Henderson. I don't love Robinson. It feels like you should draft him because of the name value, but still, I'm not a big fan. Where you took Hopkins, I also don't really love. I probably would have. I don't know what to do with Hopkins. He's a great player, a lot of talent. He just was banged up near the end of last season, and he just left that bad taste in my mouth. He could bounce back. He could be a great candidate for like bounce back receiver of the year, to be that elite guy, that kind of like Keenan Allen type player where you kind of get tired of him. You get tired about how good he is. But overall, Schwartz, I think you got a great squad. Hopkins, Juju, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis. I think Mike Williams was a pretty good value in the 9th round. So I would give you a B plus because you got Darren Waller at the tight end position.
Seems like the value, one of the best values of the draft, no doubt. And Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
All right, on to Easy Daddy. Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Davis Mills at the end of the draft. Nice guy to have to fill in on a bye week. It looks like they're going to move forward with him, although we did explore the Texans replacing Davis Mills in our last mock draft, so go ahead and check that one out if you want. Hill, Moore, St. Brown, Parker, Dotson. Interesting plays at wide receiver. I don't know how I feel about Amon-Ra St. Brown going into year 2. I know he caught fire at the end of the last year, won a lot of people fantasy championships. I'm not sure I carry a whole lot of hope for him moving forward. to not that there isn't hope, but to live up to the expectations that people are placing on him, I guess I should say. Akers, Jacobs, Penny, Stevenson. This is also a running back group that has a tremendous amount of upside. Akers, Jacobs, Penny. If Penny maintains that role, if Chris Carson's not healthy, I mean, you could have a really, really solid season. On the flip side, Akers could come back and get worked into a committee role. Penny could split time with Carson. It could be ugly. So this either works itself out gloriously or, horrendously. And that's the way that this team was put together. But I'm going to give, man, this one's tough to grade. What did you give Schwartz?
B plus.
B plus. I think I'm on the other side. I think I'm a slight B minus. I think I do prefer Mark Chu's team to Easy's team. So I think I have to go just a slight, half a letter grade down and get him into that B minus category, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we've already gone over AJ Berg's team. I think it's a solid A.
Give it a letter
minus.
grade.
Yeah, I think it would be an A in my opinion, because it has everything you need: two elite quarterbacks, elite running backs, an elite wide receiver, really good wide receivers, or elite tight end and really good wide receivers. Yeah, I think that's a solid A for AJ Berg. What would you give Tebow fan? Because I think it's really close to A minus for Tebow.
Yeah, I liked AJ Berg's team slightly more than I liked Tebow's, and I kind of outlined why. For me, Tebow would probably be an A minus, and AJ Berg would be an A. I think that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I think that's how I'd rank them.
Getting on to Gentry here, he went wide receiver with his first round pick, but he made up for it going Russell and Fields afterwards. He snagged Breece Hall, but his running back position is his weak point here. We hope Breece Hall is going to be great, but besides that, only Dillon and Gainwell. And I think Gentry got some really good value on Chris Godwin, but besides that, it doesn't really scream elite either, besides obviously Justin Jefferson. So I think Gentry would be, I would say it's a B plus for me, given all the pieces in there. B plus for Gentry. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair. There's a good mix. I mean, look, I love the AJ Dillon pick, but let's face it, that running back core is a little scary. Like Kenny Gainwell, I don't want to rely on a week-to-week basis. AJ Dillon trended really nicely. Will Breece Hall get a starter share of a workload in week 1? I mean, that this backfield just might take some time, and that's the big weakness, like you pointed out. But Jefferson, Godwin, Smith, London, Bateman, Landry, you're going to fill a lot of holes with those 6 wide receivers. And the quarterbacks are safe enough from their mobility. So I think you have a decent floor, but like Lando said, that running back group is a little scary.
Yeah.
We've talked about Scotty's team. I'm gonna skip past him. It did come together, though. I will admit it in the end. And when you look at the value at his other positions, I'm going to give him a B plus.
Yeah.
Let's go to Griff. Prescott and Malik Willis. I believe in my heart of hearts that Malik Willis is a developmental quarterback. He is going to need a year. I don't think he plays this year. So I'm sort of looking at this team as it's a single QB team.
Pretty close. With
Mixon,
that said, he's got some good positions here.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, Dalton Schultz was a really nice pick, given that this team just lost Amari Cooper. They franchise tagged him. I guess Blake Jarwin did not pass a physical, so he was released. Dalton Schultz has carved a rollout for himself on this team. Brown, Allen, Waddle, Cooks, fantastic. Treylon Burks goes to the right spot. Could be awesome. So this running back group is also a hair scary, but Madison and Hines have proven their value time and time again. So this team I like a little bit less than Scott's. I think I'm putting this one in the category with Mark's team. I think this is just a solid B squad.
Okay.
I think potentially a lot was given up at the Superflex position.
Cat's pajamas went Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, two really good sophomore players. It's a full sophomore team. Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Darnell Mooney. I think the team is solid. Got some good value of DK Metcalf. The running back position's okay. You've got Clyde Edwards, hopefully has a bounce back season. Kenneth Walker, who's the number 2 running back according to Mac in this class. I think you did great. You didn't probably have to take Zach Wilson, but you probably took him away from Ziploc. So having 3 quarterbacks in a regular league, you have a backup, and then you could trade one, and then that's providing value for you. But I just like taking 2 quarterbacks, especially in the top half of drafts in these mocks. But I think the team is, I would say it's a solid B. I could see it could be a scary team, but I would give it a B grade as well for Cats.
I'm kind of more on the B- side, kind of lumping it in with Easy's team. And you highlighting the Zach Wilson pick for me is the one that really took the potential away from this team.
Godwin instead of Zach Wilson would have been nice.
I mean, Godwin or Waddle or Cooper, to make your wide receiver 3 one of those guys over Darnell Mooney, who I also think is a nice little value, but you're going to be at times looking for Marquez Valdes-Scantling to fill in on a bye week. And I just would much rather have Waddle, Cooper, Godwin, McLaurin instead. So yeah, I agree with you. Zach Wilson was probably an unnecessary pick. I would have liked this team a lot better if it was Chase Metcalf, Waddle, Chase Metcalf, Godwin instead, but it is what it is. Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be okay. Edwards-Helaire is a little scary given the Rojo signing, but we'll see.
Yep. Last but not least, our boy Taylor. Two worlds.
Eckler, Connor, Pollard, Henderson, Hubbard. Eckler's going to have to carry the load for this running back core. Connor, we've talked about him, but it's a decent duo. Lamb, Brown, Renfro, Kirk. Don't love the wide receiving core. Stafford, Carr, Wentz is a good, safe trio. And then, got the upside with Kittle, I guess. I'm sort of putting this... I'm kind of putting this team probably just slightly ahead of Cats. Maybe I'll put it as a B, but I don't necessarily love the wide receiving core.
Taking Kittle, I think, really just made it hard. The way it started. I think I would have rather just waited on Kittle and went with another wide receiver, Cooper, Waddle, Lamb, and pair that up with James Conner.
For sure. Between you and I, let's see.
Yeah, how do you like your team overall?
Yeah, let's get anybody who's still with us in the stream to give a vote here. My team, Orlando's team, just for some fun. I guess I'll talk about my team. Allen and Hurts, I think, is a really nice duo. A lot of mobility there for those guys, and really safe floors. I think I got the best quarterback in the draft. Diggs pairs up with Allen nicely. Also rounded out with DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, and then took a shot on Chris Olave. Kenny Golladay in the last round kind of feels criminal. Added Jared Goff for some safety, and then Barkley, Elliott, Etienne, Hunt. I think Barkley and Elliott are going to be solid enough for my 2 running back spots. If Etienne has a season like we hope he can, then I think it'll be a really solid play. I'm weak at tight end, but Zach Ertz represented a lot of decent games last year, and given that he got an extension with Arizona, I feel somewhat decent about the pick, but it certainly wasn't wasn't the greatest tight end pick, but not terribly either. So I mean, I think this was a good draft. I'd be happy to game this team throughout the
Yep.
year.
For me, you know what? I probably didn't get anyone I wanted in this mock, and that's okay. That's why we do these mock drafts. Kyler Murray, the shine has come off Kyler Murray, but I think he will still be a very fine fantasy quarterback. I paired him up with Deshaun Watson, assuming that he will be the starter for the Cleveland Browns the entire season. My wide receiver position, I have Kupp, Devontae Adams, and then I went Garrett Wilson, Odell Beckham, and Tyler Boyd. Got some value on those guys later on. Again, don't love my wide receiver position despite getting the value on Cooper Kupp. The running backs, I'm also fine. They're not the typical running backs that I normally draft, but I'm pretty okay with where I got them in this draft. David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Damian Harris, Singletary, and then Melvin Gordon as well. My tight end is TJ Hawkinson, and if you're a fan of the show, you know we are fans of TJ Hawkinson in this podcast and on this YouTube channel. So I'm fairly happy where I got him.
I've got to point it out. It's wild that you didn't take Dawson Knox instead.
Yeah, it's true. I thought about it, but I think
Truther.
I think the value on Knox or the value on Hawkinson will stay high. He'll be all right this year. I'm happy about TJ, but I would give myself a B+.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're both solid teams.
An A grade? Would you be an A- A draft? I do like your team, Mac. Barkley. Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to get a little bit of humble pie there when you go to grade your own team. I think it's one of the better teams. I think it's pretty well rounded. I don't think it's the best team in this draft, but I think it has really nice positional value. Like with Allen and Hurts, I think that's solid. Diggs, more Judy, I think that's solid. Barkley, Elliott, ETN. I mean, there's lots of upside there. There's also lots of name value, which makes it probably appear better than it actually is. But
which is great for trading as well. Your value you got on DJ Moore was really, really good. I'm surprised how late he went.
A vote for you, Lando, because as a Patriots fan, can't get behind the Bill stack.
Doesn't matter the reason. The only thing that matters is the vote.
You better hope Deshaun Watson plays the full season.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for coming by. This was awesome. Really nice to get a mock draft under the belts, and Superflex is a good way to kick it off. We can certainly make one happen again next week. I'd love to do this leading up to the draft. Let us know what kind of format you would want us to do. So if you're watching this video after the fact, or you want to run to the YouTube comments afterwards and just put in, hey, next week, can we do tight end premium? Can we do 2 quarterback? Can we do 1 QB? Can we do no QB? Let us know. Let us know. Yeah. We're kind of open to anything, but really nice hanging with you guys. Appreciate it. Slap a like, get this out to some friends. And we'll see if we can do this next week as well.
Sounds good.
All right. We will see you guys soon. Have a good week. And until next time, take care.
Goodbye.